Hello, I'm going to offer a quick tutorial for how to walk through setting up your rough draft for your Persia versus Greek essay. So the first thing I want to show you is the setup of your title and header for this essay. In the social studies department, we use the MLA format, as does English. And so what you'll see is for this, it should be your name, first and last, the date that the assignment is due, which is 10/14/2018, my last name, Barksdale, the name of the class, European History 1, and then the title of your essay. You can title it. It doesn't have to be something super creative because this isn't a creative or fictional literary analysis. So you can call it Persia versus Greece. Who was more advanced? You could use the question, the thesis question. You decide. Just make sure that it's appropriate to the paper. Don't come up with something that is silly and off task. Okay. So this worksheet you're actually getting in class, but I just wanted to offer a tutorial as well for more extended learning in case you are absent or in case you are confused. So the first statement that we'll read is introductions to historical persuasive essays are essential and should clearly state the author's purpose for the writing. At the end of the introduction, the reader should clearly understand the historical context of the author's topic and the argument that is the core component of your essay. The thesis, when we write an introduction, does not go at the beginning. The thesis, the heart and soul and brain of your paper, actually does not appear until towards the end of your introduction. And that's something that often baffles students. They will start with the thesis and then go right into their writing. The only time that you do that is when you are developing a writing prompt, which is an on the spot writing or something where I'm not asking you to develop a fully developed essay. Instead, I'm asking you to do a prompt based on a quick argument. If it is an essay, you should always offer an introduction because it needs to give context to why you're doing the writing. So, for this introduction, you should include a hook, a question or consideration about the word advanced. The core context of what we've been doing since the start of this course is determining what factors develop a civilization. And then taking it a layer further, we've been talking about what makes some civilizations more advanced than others. So the first thing you should start off with is a hook or a consideration that will include kind of a perspective and overview of the word advanced. So, as a model, one of the things that I said was advanced ancient civilizations were further along in skill and development than other cultures. I'm kind of articulating to my reader that I'm going to be talking to them about the idea that advanced civilizations are more developed or more progressive than others. And the core of my thesis is actually taking two of major civilizations in history, Persia and Greece, and showing that one is more advanced than the others. Feel free to use this model for your essay. The context of this is practice. When you go to do your Machiavelli essay in Euro 2, you will have to develop an introduction on your own. So the expectation is that you take this knowledge and use this model to help you in future classes. Then I want to tell my reader in a general scope, I don't want to mention Persia or Greece yet. I just want to say, what are things that I would consider to be advanced in a civilization? Like, what makes a progressive civilization? So, my next sentence is a progressive civilization was stable. I could even say, if I'm wordsmithing right now on the spot, I could say in ancient times, a progressive civilization was stable, structured, exposed to culture and religion, and all people were treated fairly. So I kind of am giving the reader a general view about like what do I consider to be something that is advanced in ancient times or progressive for a civilization as they move forward. Then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to do two things. These bullets kind of correspond to each other, but you actually have to introduce to the reader the groups that you're going to be talking about. And in this case, it's the Achaemenid dynasty versus the golden age of Greece that was founded under Pericles' rule when Athens was at its height during what's known as the Hellenic era. So, the first thing you need to do, and this is going to vary depending on what side you chose. Most of you chose to side that Persia was more advanced. So then you would describe Persia first. It's going to have to follow the train of your thesis. I know it sounds strange, but it really should. So, if I were to argue that Persia was more advanced, I should introduce Persia to my reader first. And I would say I would need to create a couple sentences that define what is the Achaemenid dynasty, what years was it in power, what was its geographical location, how many nations made up the Achaemenid dynasty, just to give a general background and definition to who this group was. Then I would introduce the second part of my thesis, which is Greece. Now, I'll say it again. If you said Greece was more advanced than Persia, you should have introduced Greece first and then introduce Persia. So with Greece, I need to define what was the golden age of Greece. I should mention Pericles a little bit because he's going to be a guy that will be mentioned. For your Achaemenid dynasty, you should mention Cyrus, Darius, and Xerxes. What is the Hellenic culture, which we defined as part of our key terms? And I should also mention the geographic location. You should mention that Athens was the kind of central component of this era. Remember, though, Athens was not, it was not a singular empire. We still have Greece broken up into city states. Why this era is called the Golden Age of Greece, though, it's really centered on Athens, who had taken control after the Persian Wars as they became the leaders of the Delian League. All right. So down here, I have a transition sentence that I would encourage you include before you jump into the history. I put some ancient civilizations that worked to advance their cultures were the Persians and the Greeks. So I'm transitioning from my introduction couple sentences where I kind of am filtering into what my argument's going to be about. Then I would give my facts about my culture. Remember the one that you said is more advanced to go first. Then I have a little transition word here like while. On the flip side, the Greeks were, and then I would mention who the Greeks are. Okay. Then, once I have completed that, this is going to probably make up about 6 to 7 sentences, which will make your introduction a little longer. So bear that in mind, that mine looks really short because I'm not going to put all the facts in. That's the part that I'm going to ask you to do. Then I would transition to my thesis. I would say, in analyzing the two civilizations, comma, and then I would give my thesis statement. Persia was a more advanced civilization than Greece, or Greece was a more advanced civilization than Persia. And then finally, I need to give my 3 proof statements. These are your Roman numeral statements from your outline, Roman numeral 1, 2, and 3. These are the 3 areas that I'm going to focus on to prove that my thesis is correct. Okay? Once you've completed that, then your introduction is all set. Once that is done, your job is to hit enter. And just to clarify for formatting, all of this should be Times New Roman, which you can do up here, Times New Roman, 12 point, and then double spaced. If you hit the arrow and go down to double spaced, your entire essay should be set up that way. Do not put any extra spaces between any paragraphs, any extra spaces between your title. Some of you try to put extra spaces in so the essay will look longer. Some of you will make it 13 point and 14 point. Please do not do that. Please keep it as a 12 point Times New Roman double spaced. That's MLA appropriate. Okay. So then once you finish your introduction, you're going to hit enter. You're going to copy and paste your entire outline into your essay. Now, mine is shorter because I am not going to put a full outline in because I did not complete one. You will, though, which will take up multiple pages. So here's how it's going to work. This is going to be the tedious part. You are going to hit backspace to get rid of anything that makes the essay look like an outline. So if I were to do mine, I would actually hit backspace on my Roman numeral 2. Notice that I use my proof statement again. Even though I've used it in the introduction, I'm going to use it as the starter of my paragraph. Really important idea. Then I'm going to hit backspace on my A and I'm going to bring it all the way up to my proof statement. So literally, I'm just going to get rid of anything that makes it look like an outline to bring it together. Now, what's important to understand is for each category, political, economic, military, you will have 2 paragraphs per section. So this essay should be a total of about 8 paragraphs. So keep that in mind as we move forward. So what you're noticing right now is I'm just bringing my work up so that it all turns into 1 paragraph. Now, obviously, for the outline, I had made this all different colors. I would get rid of the colors. I need to do that. I would make it Times New Roman 12 point double spaced. Now, you're going to notice this is just one of my spec sets. When I go to switch to my other spec set, I would hit enter. For my B section, I would tab in and I need to create a transitional sentence that will close out this first paragraph. So this first paragraph is about the selection of satraps or the selection of officials. So I would say the selection of officials was more advanced in Persia write so was, and then I would put whatever my I would categorize whatever my next topic is going to be. And I don't have anything set, but if I did, I would maybe say so was the actions of political leaders. So you're going to notice that for every paragraph, you have to create a conclusion that will transition into your next paragraph. This was not part of your outline, so it is an additional piece. Then from there, I should be able to hit enter, make my B section all one paragraph, tabbed in. Notice that I tabbed in right here for my first one just once. No extra spaces, so B should start right where the double space begins. Now, the next step of making this a rough draft, I need to read through this to see if I need to add in transitional words and phrases. I need to check for capitalization. I need to make sure that my quotes are set up correctly. So, one, Persia and Greece should always be capitalized. You should have, and I'll unhighlight this so that way it's a little less colorful. You should have your specs led into according to the text. Persia was. You'll notice my quotation marks. They should end, and I should have a citation with a period at the end of it. My doc should be labeled Greek or Persia doc number. If it's the textbook, it should be text in the page number. If it's a title of the video, it should be in quotation marks. Then I should have a contrast transition. If you did this on your outline, most of your paragraphs should already be written nicely. So mine actually works if you read it. Then from there, I have my analysis statement addressing both specs. The first sentence of my analysis describes why Persia was more advanced. And then the second part of my analysis explains why Greece was not advanced. Notice that when I set up my outline, I purposely added in another contrast transition. So for every spec set paragraph, you should have two contrast transition. One between your first and second specs, and the second one between your first and second analysis statement, as you switch to talking about why the other side is not advanced. Then the last sentence of the paragraph should sum up the selections of officials was more advanced in Persia, but so was, and then maybe my next paragraph is about the actions of political leaders. So I would literally say that the actions of political leaders. I don't need to say, well, who they are. I don't need to say like Darius and Pericles. I just need to close this paragraph out. I can't end on an analysis statement and then go to a whole new topic without a closing thought. Otherwise, it doesn't transition nicely. So, if you set your outline up correctly for the body of this paper, really you should be wordsmithing, capitalization, punctuating correctly, and adding one sentence to the end of each of your spec set paragraphs. Okay, so that's just a quick tutorial about how to set up your essay. Reminder that your rough draft is due Wednesday by midnight, and your final draft of your essay, once proofed by me, will be due on Sunday by midnight, the 14th of October. Good luck, take your time, and let me know if you have any questions.